Louisa Clark's life is a masterclass in staying put. At 26, her days are measured in cups of tea served at the Buttered Bun Cafe. Her wardrobe is a riot of mismatched colors, and her ambitions rarely stretch past the boundaries of her small, tourist trap hometown. She is comfortable, safe, and entirely stuck. 2 miles away, Will Traynor's reality is dictated by the hum of machinery and the rigid schedules of medication. A motorcycle accident left the former high-powered executive a C5-6 quadriplegic. His world, once defined by extreme sports and corporate buyouts, has shrunk to the exact dimensions of a customized wheelchair. It is silent, sterile, and entirely out of his control. When Lou is hired as Will's daycare companion, the initial impact is bruising. She arrives armed with forced, sunny optimism, treating him with the delicate, patronizing care most people reserve for the fragile. Will retaliates the only way he can, with blistering, defensive sarcasm that strips away her cheerful facade. The tension snaps when Will uses his limited mobility to intentionally knock a shelf of his beloved pre-accident photographs to the floor. As Lou attempts to clean up the shattered glass, he lashes out. Instead of shrinking back, Lou drops the pleasantries and fires back, refusing to be his emotional punching bag. This friction changes the dynamic. Will starts to see a companion who doesn't recoil from his condition, and Lou discovers that her bluntness is the most effective way to communicate with him. By colliding with such abrasive force, they begin to dismantle the defensive walls they've built around themselves. The dynamic shifts entirely when Lou overhears a devastating conversation. Will has made a pact with his parents. He has agreed to give them exactly 6 months. When that time is up, he plans to travel to a clinic in Switzerland to end his own life. The clock starts ticking. Lou understands her real role is to serve as a constant, living argument against his plan, pivoting every task toward a single, desperate objective, keeping him alive. This diagram shows Lou's strategic counteroffensive. She heads to the library, researches accessible travel, and maps out a meticulous calendar of adventures. She plans to inject maximum joy into his remaining time, filling every square with trips to the racetrack, concerts, and holidays. The schedule becomes a relentless march of activity. Every week is stuffed to the margins with new experiences, elaborate logistics, and frantic optimism. Lou treats Will's depression as a logistical problem that can be solved with enough fresh air and sheer willpower. But mapping out an itinerary is the ultimate illusion of control. Lou is trying to overwrite Will's deep, physical despair with her own relentless enthusiasm. She assumes that if she can just show him enough of the world, he will automatically want to stay in it. The campaign starts small, with tentative drives to local viewpoints to avoid the pitying stares of strangers. But as they figure out the complex logistics of wheelchair travel, the perimeter expands. They attend a symphony. They navigate the packed, chaotic lawn of a formal wedding. Out in the world, the abrasive dynamic between them softens. Lou's sharp wit and unflinching refusal to be embarrassed begin to chip away at Will's cynical armor. For the first time since his accident, Will actually laughs. Not a bitter scoff, but genuine, unguarded amusement. Yet, as Lou tries to push Will outward, Will launches a quiet counteroffensive of his own. He recognizes that Lou is perfectly healthy, yet completely terrified of her own potential. He uses his remaining influence to force her out of her comfort zone. He makes her watch foreign films with subtitles. He questions her long-term relationship with a self-absorbed boyfriend. He challenges her lack of ambition and demands she expect more from her own future than a lifetime in a small town. They bond through a mutual rescue operation. While Lou struggles to anchor Will to the world, Will uses his remaining influence to force her to finally participate in it. The momentum of their expanding world crashes against a harsh biological limit. A minor infection rapidly spirals into a severe, life-threatening bout of pneumonia. The packed itinerary vanishes. Will is confined to a hospital bed, burning with fever and struggling for breath. The crisis strips away the romantic illusion of their field trips, exposing the brutal daily reality of his condition. His body is a failing mechanism, vulnerable to a microscopic bacteria that a healthy person would brush off in a day. Once Will recovers enough to travel, they embark on a final, lavish trip to a tropical island. Under the warm night sky, Lou plays her last card. She confesses her love for him, begging him to cancel the trip to Switzerland and choose a life with her instead. Will's response is agonizingly tender, yet firm. He tells her that these last 6 months have been the best he could have asked for. But he also tells her it isn't enough. He cannot endure a life where he is entirely dependent on others, trapped in a body that causes him constant physical pain. It is a devastating truth. Genuine affection can provide comfort and shift a person's emotional perspective, but it cannot regenerate a severed spinal cord, and it cannot replace a fierce, independent man's basic human need for bodily autonomy. Lou's immediate reaction is pure, furious rejection. She stops speaking to him, quits her job days before the deadline, and retreats to her parents' house. To her, Will's decision feels like a personal failure, proof that her love simply wasn't strong enough to save him. But as the final days tick down, Lou realizes the selfishness in her anger. Will's choice is not a rejection of her, it is a rejection of his pain. To truly love Will, she has to stop trying to overwrite his reality with her optimism. She has to surrender her need to control the narrative. She boards a plane. Inside a quiet, specialized clinic nestled in a sprawling Swiss valley, they share their final moments. There are no dramatic rescues or last-minute changes of heart. Just two people, holding on to each other, facing the finality of his decision. Supporting a loved one usually means fighting for their survival, but Lou is forced to consider a different boundary. She has to decide if she can love him enough to step back and respect his ownership of his own life, even when it costs her everything. The stillness of the clinic gives way to the chaotic, vibrant energy of a sunny Parisian street corner. Lou sits at a cafe table, a million miles away from the stagnant routine of the butter bun. In her hands is a letter Will left for her. In it, he has provided enough financial support to buy her freedom from her hometown, along with a firm final directive: just live well, just live. He demands she push herself, wear her ridiculous striped tights with pride, and refuse to settle for a small life. Sitting alone in a foreign city, reading his words, Lou is no longer the fearful girl who rarely left her village. Will's expansive, hungry worldview hasn't disappeared. It has been permanently integrated into her own. Will Traynor's physical life ended on his own terms, but his legacy succeeded precisely where he intended. He transferred his fierce appetite for experience directly into Louisa Clark, ensuring that while his world had closed, hers was only just beginning.